Utah, when I was a boy, everybody knew it down there. We were the anti-nuclear capital of the world. I was an autistic kid. My father was a drafted United States Marine, an incredible man. I come from an incredible family. My uncle stood on Omaha Beach on D-Day. I grew up on a huge ranch out by the lake. He was a beautiful, incredible person. He was at Pendleton, combat ready, and they were human guinea pig. They were marched into the trenches in Nevada. They're called atomic veterans. He nearly died at the blast. Between 1951 and 1968, we had 300 open-air tests. Well, as different scientists started to write about this, Wallace Stegner was at the University of Utah at the time. I got to know him. Edward Abbey was hanging around. I got to know him. I got to know all these environmentalists, and I was an environmentalist, and it was a passionate, intense subject matter there.
All nuclear fighters, all hands on deck, all hands on deck, all hands on deck. All nuclear fighters, all hands on deck, all hands on deck, all hands on deck. They'll be calling you a radical. Plumgate, 311, whatever you want to call it. I call it Pacific genocide, whatever. It's fucking giant conspiratorial across all demographics. All nuclear fighters, all hands on deck, all hands on deck, all hands on deck. They'll be calling you a radical. All nuclear fighters, all hands on deck, all hands on deck, all hands on deck. Plumgate, 311, whatever you want to call it. I call it Pacific genocide, whatever. It's fucking giant conspiratorial across all demographics. They'll be calling you a radical. May God have mercy on all of your souls.
Nuclear power was evolving. We were promised, oh, this can't happen.
Hey there, UCY Radio listeners and the supporters of the Post-Ignorance Project. This is Lonnie Clark, filling in for Kevin Blanch today. We'll be doing an interview with him in just a minute. I want to encourage everyone to go to our website, which is www.thepostignoranceproject.com. Make a contribution as big or as little as you can afford, because we really need the help. Kevin's in Europe, making his way through Europe, talking to other anti-nuke activists. He's got a lot to share today. So let me hold on just a second. I'm going to, without any further ado, I want to introduce Kevin to you. Kevin, are you here?
Yeah, I'm here in Copenhagen.
How's it going out there?
Well, it's very, very cold.
How are people receiving you in Europe? How is the reception to an anti-nuke?
Oh, they love me. They love me. It's amazing. It's especially in Austria. I mean, people drove from all over the country to meet me. People, you know, I mean, it's amazing. They love me here. I get these incredible European, 22, 24-year-old girls coming up to me in the United States. And people might spit on me, but they appreciate what I do, and they really like me.
So
and I've had nothing but good responses.
Are you telling me that the youth in Europe is much more aware of the harm that nuclear causes than the youth in the United States?
Oh, you wouldn't believe it. It's amazing to me, especially in Austria and Germany. Well, even in the Czech Republic and here in, in Copenhagen is such a cosmopolitan city and crossway. So, it's a little more diverse here, but, in Austria, it's unbelievable how anti-nuclear educated they are.
That's ironic.
Everybody.
Don't you think that's ironic that they're very, very anti-nuclear when the IAEA has its headquarters there?
It's amazing. It's really amazing, but you can understand why. What's that?
I said that talks to the power that they have. They have their headquarters in a country where the people don't want them, and they still insist on being there.
Well, and the thing is they're smart enough to understand in Austria that it doesn't really matter because Czech Republic, don't call them Czechoslovakia over here, they'll kick your ass. The Czech Republic has disastrous nuclear reactors right on the Austrian border. Now, I was at the leaking Czech reactor, which is still leaking, by the way. There's a disaster going on in the Czech. I believe it's called Hamblin. I was at that reactor. I didn't dare get off the train. I stayed on the train. I took photographs of it, But they've got a disaster that's being unreported in the world in Czechoslovakia.
How long has
There's
it been
a reactor
leaking?
that's... What's that?
How long has it been leaking?
It's been going on for a few months, and they supposedly said they had control of it. Now they've come out and said, nope, still enforced shutdown for the rest of July, was just reported. So,
Wow.
you know, and you think the media is bad in the United States, you should see the media here.
Huh.
I mean, the media in Austria is pathetic. It's owned by about 3 oligarchs, and then the media in Czech, forget it. But the only good media is in Germany. They have very responsible, good media, the best in the world. But the rest of Europe, you think our media is controlled, they ought to see theirs.
Wow.
And so nobody knows these stories, you know. So they're searching the internet, trying to find people like me, whatever. A report. By the way, we've got a report. Yes, just 16 hours ago at Indian Point, the number 3 unit malfunction in a pump is being reported. So here we go with that disaster.
Well, I have not seen anything on the end. I did see that Fermi. This brings up a good point, you know, because since I started doing the radio show for you, in order for me to find resources and things to talk about, I've started going to the NRC alert page, and honest to God, I would suggest that anybody listening to this radio show who is in the United States, go to the NRC alert page. Just type in NRC alerts and it'll pull you right to the page. Because there is shit going on in all over the fucking United States. Like, we would not believe missing gauges, nuclear radiation being found in scrap metal sites, accidents that don't get reported. Last week I actually reported on the gauge that was like somebody had a lock and somebody had a key to the lock and stole a gauge right out of one of the trucks. So, and the NRC is calling that not an emergency situation, and it contained nuclear radiation. So people.
Oh, they've gotten so lazy, the nuclear industry. It's so, when we go up to the Energy Solutions dump site, there's supposed to be people all over. We're out there. There's no even at the guard check. You could walk right in. You know, it's against the law to go in there, but there's no gate, there's no fence. You could walk right into the most dangerous shit in the world, and nobody's there. I mean, this is how lazy we've gotten about. The NRC's gotten lazy. The American Party's gotten lazy, and there's no media to hold them accountable. This shit's, people going into nuclear reactors in, Chernobyl. I saw bootleg pictures and bootleg videos of people going into Chernobyl, companies, and they're taking this at Chernobyl, at the reactor, right at the reactor, right at the facility, taking the metal and scrapping it and putting it into the, world market. And that's going on all over. I mean,
wow.
This is how lazy we've gotten. It's unbelievable.
Wow.
Nobody's watching any of this story. I mean, no one cares. And it seems the American public sure don't give a shit. They don't care.
Well,
they're like the Pacific Ocean's dying and they don't even care.
This is this stunning thing. Like, we're being trained, when I said a long time ago to you that we're like battered wives, it's actually worse than that. I think we are like sexually abused children. Because we are being, what do they call that, primed? We're being groomed to accept the idea that we're all going to die of cancer. We're being groomed to accept that we don't have a right to have a healthy, normal life, and that's just the way it is. And honestly, it is really bad. Like, I would mention last week that the last time
it's so true. It's the perfect analogy. It is the perfect analogy. We've compartmentalized it, and we don't think about it. It's like, I was married to one of the women that I was into a long-time relationship had been sexually molested. And she'd compartmentalize it, would never speak about it, never talk about it, never think about it. And that's what nuclear
happens.
is. That's exactly what it is.
That's exactly, and we are all being
It's
groomed.
sad.
And then we're all being felt guilty because we get sick. We feel like it's our fault because we get cancer. Oh, I ate beef, or I ate dairy, and it's my fault. We should fucking be able to eat beef.
Yeah, and they love you as long as you're, in the United States, they love you as long as you're fighting cancer. But if you survive cancer, they hate you. And if you get loud and you fight it the way you're supposed to, I got to tell you a story about the Pacific Ocean here. They have a beautiful aquarium in Denmark that I went out to, amazing aquarium. So I've been at all the aquariums up and down the coast of California, why the Pacific Ocean's dying. So I go in there and I talk to them. Every single person I talk to, from very young, this young female could have been 24 years old, this guy about my age, I'm talking to them individually, as soon as I bring up and I show them what I do, hey, I'm the Pacific genocide guy, I'm documenting Fukushima, they get so emotional. I mean, she started to cry. Grown man started to cry. He's like, it's so horrible what's going on in the Pacific Ocean. They know. They know more here and care more about here, halfway across the world, than the very own people at Monterey Bay Aquarium. They don't give a shit in California. They don't care.
You know why, Kevin? It's that same issue. The people in California are like sexually abused children who blame themselves, so they just shut down all of their emotions.
Well, not only that, they live in this, and the marine biologists, they live in this fairy tale, and they're comfortably numb. Oh, look at my nice house, my comfortable life. Oh, I'm a California hypocrite. I love the environment because I got a peace sign on my shirt, and my kids have it. They're phony fuckers. I named them my hypocrites. It's disgusting. It really is disgusting when you come over here to Europe, and the Europeans give a shit about the California coast, and they don't.
You know what it is, Kevin? In Europe, they still have their emotions. That's the thing. This is my point here is the people in California, they are hypocrites, and they are completely disconnected. But I honestly, there's a lot of people there who are really poor people. There's a lot of poor people in California who have no other option but to live there. And they're, but what do? You just basically shut your emotions down. You don't get active because there's a lot of people who are really feeling hopeless. I mentioned this on the last radio show. I had 3 of my nieces over here last week on Sunday. All 3 of them do not want to live past 40. All 3 of them do not want children. What does that say when young women under 30 years old do not want to have... They've been groomed, postured and groomed to hate their lives. And this is part of what we're fighting back, because we want people to live and appreciate life. Your journey around
I met this young man from... I met this young guy and from Mexico, of all places. And right off the gate, him and his sister were talking. I said, "You're not from Spain. You're from Mexico, aren't you?" And he says, "How did you know?" I said, "I can tell." And I says, "I can tell you why." And then we started talking about Fukushima, and he said it before I said it. He says, "You know why we're different in Mexico than we are in California? Because we have a conscience and they don't."
Exactly.
He said it just like that. And I said, "Oh, boy, young man, do you get it?" He says, he says, "You ought to hear people talking about Fukushima." He says, "They go crazy about it down there." And he says, "Not California." Before I even brought it up. So this kid knew. It's amazing. He's just a young guy.
What I don't get is why people are not contacting their elected officials and demanding the truth. Like, I regularly call, you regularly call. We're the few people who poke them in the eye. But honestly, if we could get even 1,000 people calling, I mean, even and that's how little effort it takes, is we just need maybe 1,000, 10,000 out of millions of Americans to contact these people.
Well, I'll tell you what proves it. Okay, I've been to all the California meetings on trying to shut down the Albuquerque and San Alvaro for my whole life, my entire life. When I got leukemia, in the San Onofre leak, which I'm the guy that was reporting the San Onofre leak, it was being leaked to me, and I had the field. I was getting 30,000 views a day, and I said, "We're showing up. I'm the one that packed that house. That's the biggest meeting I ever saw in California by 10 times. There had 1,200 people there. It was overflowing. And I'll guarantee you 800 or 900 are people that I mobilized. People came right up to me. Everybody said, "I'm here for you, Kevin." I mean, it was huge turnout. And we caught those guys so off guard, and we caught them right between the eyes. And these people went at them, and it worked. That's exactly why I knew right there that day. I knew that day they were done. We caught them off guard. We went at them. And that's all it took. It took a group of 1,200 people to storm that meeting, go in there, and they knew what they were up against. They threw their hands up and said, we're not fighting this piece. We're done. San Onofre shut down. And so that it doesn't take that many if we could get them out. But, at a big hearing at San Onofre, we get at Diablo Canyon. You saw it when I'm walking with the monk. I mean, we even get 15 people we're doing good. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
They just won't show up. Now, so it doesn't take that many. Barbara Boxer's officer said. Barbara Boxer's lead liaison, who knows me, who I've been working with, told me right to my face, "Kevin, we're trying, but we can't get any of our populace behind us." She says, "You're the only one that calls." Yeah, and you're not even a Californian.
Yeah. Well, I certainly
it's
call.
Like the guy that was.
But you know what happens to me, Kevin?
Yeah, I know you do.
I mean, They will say thank you very much. You know, it's actually kind of interesting because my own senator, Ron Wyden, he blocks my phone calls. I have to do star
Yeah, that
67
piece
to
of
block
shit.
my phone number so I can get through to his phone number, and that is a fact. The phone rings off the hook if
I
I just
mean,
call him directly. I mean,
well, they threatened him. I mean, he went to Fukushima, and he's a coward. He's one of the biggest cowards I've ever seen because he ran
yes.
his mouth about Fukushima in a very good way. He did a lot of good work, and that's my point about him, Obama, and these people that know that we have hope for this betrayal. They're worse than the NRC rats
I agree.
because they act like they're all on our side, and then they turn on us. They
And they're
betray us.
just the
He
biggest
betrayed us.
liars in the world. Like, I mean, with Ron Wyden, his office told me that he can't talk to us about Fukushima anymore because it's considered a national secret now. It's considered national security, and it's under the
Patriot Act. That's
yeah.
why they pull that shit on me every day, too.
Well, you know what? I told them that's bullshit. They have an obligation to break the Patriot Act because I call it the Unpatriot Act.
Yes.
And I said, you know what? If we got 10
Yeah.
senators to speak out against the Patriot Act and start telling secrets, they're not going to throw fucking 10 senators in jail. This is how
No.
you know, if they're not going to roll
The senators
back
have a lot of power under the Constitution. The United States Senator has incredible power. They need to use it. You know, they're just cowards. They're just like the rest of America. I got to tell you, before we get off track, we got to talk about the experience out at the IAA in Austria. We got to talk about it because I haven't been able to talk about it. And it's an amazing story
Okay.
how that evolved out there in my protest. So, I get there. I'm staying with a documentary filmmaker there who made Nuclear Lies he worked there. And he quit. He's an amazing dude. I mean, I got to see incredible footage. I went to the opening in Bath. They did a big ceremony for me, gave me a big present, had a standing ovation for me, asked me to speak, but so we go out. I go out the first day, and Sandra comes all the way from Holland to protest with me, and then there was other people that came, and people come from all over Austria to meet me and, to set up. So anybody can take the private tour, the public tour. There's a public tour at the UN that anybody in the world can take, but you have to go through incredible security. So I'm there, Sandra's there, we're meeting there. So I go in, and they're like, "What are you doing?" I'm just here for the public tour. Okay. So the security's intense. It's like we go through the airports here in the U.S., layer after layer. So I'm just going through, and then they're like, "What are you doing here?" "I'm going to the public tour." "Well, what's in your bag?" "What does it matter what's in my bag? Is there anything in there with a problem?" "Well, we see some signs in your bag." "Yeah, so?" "Well, you can't I'm not taking them in." "Who said?" "You can just check them right there. I'm going to take, if there's something I can't take in, that's fine. I'm just going to the tour." So I get to the end, and this guy pulls me to the side. He says, "Come here. We need you over here." And they detain me. They search through my bags. They strip search me, and I'm like, "What the fuck?" They take my passport, and they're like, "You're not going in." I'm like, "Why? Why am I not going in? Tell me why I'm not going in." And then this guy comes out of this little room in a white shirt. He says, "Well, I'm head of the security here." And he says, "I want to talk to you, Kevin." And I'm like, "Okay." And so I'm like, "Well, what's the deal?" He says, "Well, you're a protester. You're an activist." I said, "How do you know that?" "Well, we know it." And he says, "You're not going in." I'm like, "Why? Why can I not go in?" I said, "It's legal. I have every legal right. I pay just as much taxes as much as blood."
I gotta
And
interrupt
so
you. You're hilarious. How did they not know? Haven't you looked in the mirror? You don't look like everybody else that walks through their doors. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but so they take me to the side, and so he says, "You're not going in." He says, and I says, "Well," he says, "Well, what's your plans then?" I says, "Well, I want to protest out front." And he says, then he takes me to the side, and they search me some more and go through, and he says, "Well, he says, Kevin, I want to tell you, I support what you do. I really support you. But they're not going to let you in here. No one's going to let you in here." And in the meantime, Sandra was being detained by Austrian police. So he says, "Okay," so that we go outside, and I strategically located where they have to go in. Now, there's a secret exit they can drive in thing, but none of them do because they all live in Vienna. They take the subway, so they have to go right in that door. So we're negotiating, and then this attorney shows up out of the blue who's watched my videos. And he says, "I'm an attorney." He says, and they're arguing. So we got Austrian police, UN police, and this attorney all arguing where the line is and where I could protest what I'd done. So finally, the head of security says, "I'll tell you what I'm going to do. We can't settle this. And he says, we usually never have protesters here, but I'm going to scope off a little section. So he gave me a little 10-foot by about 5-foot section. You lay your sign right here, and that's your spot. And you can't talk to people. You can't go out of people. Well, so we're strategically located, so the head of the IAA, all of them, they're there. And by the way, the CEO of Arriva was there also speaking. So, and I know who they are. So, Sandra, you can't keep that woman calm down. She would go get right in their face. I'd say, there's one right there. That's so-and-so. That's so-and-so. And, you know, we even saw what's his name from the NRC. And he about had a heart attack when he saw me. But it was pretty intense out there. And I did it for a week, every day.
Yeah, she was really great.
Oh, wow. I don't know how she didn't get me locked up. But she's a great activist, and she's very educated. Speaks 5 languages fluently, and she would get in their face over and over. But even the head of the UN Security Council, we got to see them and talk to them. I recognized them all. Oh, there isn't. But none of them would speak to me, and the Chinese were the worst. And there was one South African on the committee. He would come out and talk to me, and we talked on the committee. But the rest of them wouldn't speak to me. And then they had this Filipino liar, this guy that said he grew up in the Philippines, who was speaking on behalf of the Philippines. I said, you're not from the Philippines, because, we live in the Western United States. We all know. I mean, they just find these people. He was a Filipino contingency there, who he never lived in the Philippines in his life, and then they just tell him what to say, so they just go in there and lie, and so, they're debating on their Kazakhstan exchange, on their plutonium exchange in Utah, and whatever. These decisions are being made. Now, get this, I didn't know this till I was there. Did you know everybody that works in UN is tax-free? One, they have stores, they have gas stations, they have shops, and they all get 75% discount. So you see everybody come out in these great big brown paper sacks. They do all their shopping there. Yeah. They got the sweetest gig, and they don't do anything. And, except for, decide where they're going to put nuclear waste on. It's the most corrupt place on the face of the earth.
Well, it's obvious they're given preferential treatment because they're willing to comply with the murderers. I mean, let's just be real. That's essentially what it is. They're essentially murdering the fucking planet. So of course they're being given whatever they want. If they had any conscience, they wouldn't be working there. I mean, those people are just fucking. I was
talking to a guy who came by who used to work there for the IAA 15 years, and he says they were supposedly doing data on different, cancer rates, blah blah blah. And he says we just made the numbers up.
I bet
we didn't do anything. We just made them up.
I bet. I mean, look at the way this shit is falling apart, Kevin. We have hundreds of nuclear power plants all around the entire planet that are aging and falling apart. They have no answers. And, this is what I mean earlier when they were saying, well, the American public doesn't want to deal with the waste. That's the bullshit about the conversation. It's not the American public. The NRC should shut down every nuclear power plant and say, until we have a solution for the nuclear waste, we are not going to use nuclear energy, period, for anything. I mean, that's how extreme it needs to be because we are destroying the planet. The fucking Pacific Ocean is literally dying. There's newspaper reports telling the people in California to be expecting to see dead seals and dead walruses and dead whales.
Well, they're already seeing them. They go in. I walk the whole thing. They go in at 4:30 in the morning. They gather them up every morning. I saw them with my own eyes, and so I saw plenty of dead Thomas sea lions starving.
You've put me in touch with Tim Martin, right? This is how groomed the American people are. He called me yesterday so distressed. He did not know what to do. His wife got up and said, they're going to take the kids out to Gold Beach. His wife wants to take the kids crabbing this weekend. Crabbing means you dig up the crabs, you boil them, and you eat them. And he said, Lonnie, my wife is telling me I just want to ruin everybody's fun with this thing about Fukushima. I'm just trying to destroy everybody's fun. He's like, what? He goes, my grandchildren. He goes, how do I know? He goes, it's obvious. There's no fish. He was arguing with it. There's no anchovies. The whole
Well, Tim's great, by the way. He's a really great
awesome,
person.
This is
he does the work. He goes up and down those places, and it's the point. It's simply shooting the messenger. He's the messenger. He's done the work because he's a salesman. He goes all along all these places, And he's the one that's reported to me about, the truth of the ecology in Oregon, because he's a salesman. He goes out and he drives right up to these aquariums and, where they can the crabs,
you know what they're telling me? He's
weight.
gone
He
to
keeps track
every
of the
fish market.
salmon.
He's gone to the fish markets here at every place. You know what they tell him?
He knows.
They say, "Oh, don't worry, the fish has all been tested. It's all safe." He's like, "No, it has. Show me the test results." And they're like, "Oh, well, we don't get those."
Well, the state of Oregon's reporting, all year we're going to have record salmon runs, and they'll still go to water for 4 years. Look at the numbers. The numbers are in now. The numbers are in it. The Kenai came in at 75 less. It came in at 25%, 75% drop.
They've essentially shut down the entire coastline of the West Coast, Kevin. There's no fishing.
Yeah, I know.
It is really dramatic. And this is the bullshit about it. It's, 3 years ago when I first met you, they were saying they were projecting the radiation plume would hit the West Coast by 2015. It gets to the West Coast and now they call it, it's a blob. We have no idea what this is. We can't tell what it is. It's a red algae blob. And, it's so unconscious.
Well, the problem is, Lonnie, you think about it, though, the fact of the matter is there are literally tens of thousands of people that work paid by the public dime in marine biologist departments at Cal Berkeley, at Oregon State, at Oregon, at Stanford, all down the coast. They're paid by the taxpayer of California and the federal government. That's what they do for a living. And you put every one of them, because I've done it, every one of them. Not our job. What is your fucking job? So you got all these people that are drawing this huge amount of money to steward the Pacific Ocean, and they don't give a fuck. They literally do. Here it's dying right in front of their eyes, and they do not care. That's a sickness.
Well, you know what, really?
That's beyond a sickness.
And then the other part of the sickness is it's like accepting the abuser, like that fucker Ken Buechler. He was the one 3 years ago telling us, "Don't worry, there's no radiation in the Pacific Ocean," and now he's out there going, "Oh wow, we need to be concerned," because he ran out of the money that he was getting from the nuclear cartel.
Right.
So now he's sucking
the
money up.
Truth about Ken Buechler?
No.
I know the truth about Ken Buechler. There was a woman at Woods Holes who left many, many millions of dollars in her will to study the ocean at Wood Holes, and he's funded by the military, by the way. So she left it, and he blew all the fucking money. Now, his name's on the KLK study that came out 100 days of Fukushima, the international study. And he said, his name's on the study. The background level's 40 miles, 25 kilometers off Fukushima, 300 meters down. One of the samples was 1,000 times back. And his name's on that study. That fucking guy should be hung. That's illegal what he's doing. And that's the problem. The only guys that are out there are those rats that are being funded. So where are the real marine biologists? I talked to that guy. You go to San Diego State's Facebook page, San Diego State's webpage. The first guy that had this long hair, he thinks he's cool. I'm an oceanographer. Look at me, and he has this cool boat. He's all this cool cat. I went and talked to him. And I'm like, dude, you put you're all this thing. I says, where's your studies on the fucking ocean? I don't have them. So what is it you do? Just ride around the boat and use this fucking placebo for fraud? You're not a fucking marine biologist. I'm walking up and down the coast. I'm talking. No, none of them do anything. It's just a job and a title.
There was
it's
an
a fairy
interview.
tale.
Kevin, there was an interview that there was about 5 or 6, maybe 7 scientists, marine biologists, talking about the radiation plume. And one of the, about 3, I guess it was about an hour into the interview when they were talking about their presentation, someone asked a question, well, have you guys tested for radiation? Have you done anything about the radiation? The scientist literally said, no, we're not testing specifically for that because we don't want to skew our results. What the fuck? Like, really, honestly? They don't want to skew their results?
It's like that piece of shit at Long Beach State, or at Cal, one of them, Cal Berkeley Long Beach. By the way, I run into a girl who was quoting that guy, and she was in her program here in Europe. You're really quoting that rat piece of shit? Me and Joe actually talked to that guy. He went out and said his kelp study, and he said his background in 2014. I said, why you said your background in 2014? We know for a fact that Fukushima was on the coast of Southern California within days. The tuna was showing up in 2011. We know that bridge showed up in Eugene in 5 days. There were already background levels showing up in the Pacific Ocean on the California current on day 6. And you're going to wait 2 years, and then that's going to be, because they're trying to give everybody this fairy tale that it's a bathtub and it'll show up in 2015. Bullshit. It showed up in 5-6 days.
You know
so
why?
It's just a big shakedown. It's a big cover-up.
You know why they hate you the most? Because you're a cancer. You didn't die from cancer. You survived. And when you survived, you didn't just come out and go, oh, God, I'm glad I have my life back. You were like, who are these motherfuckers that are trying to kill me? And that's really what you've been on. You've been on a mission to expose the people that created the cancer epidemic.
Oh, boy, I hate them. They killed my father. They murdered my dad. They murdered Annika, the two people I love the most in the world besides my children and grandchildren. They murdered them. They tried to murder me, and what am I supposed to do? Just stand down? You know, where does it stop? Are they going to murder my kids? Are they going to murder my grandkids? Where do we defend? Where do we draw the line and say, hey, fuck you?
I think that is their plan, Kevin. Remember the book I read on my YouTube channel, Population Control Through Nuclear Pollution?
Yeah.
The whole thing that Goffman was trying to tell us is like, look, if the scientists don't step up to the plate, we are going to have population control through nuclear pollution because the technologists they really are hoping
anybody that doesn't think it's not eugenics, it's eugenics. Just simply look up John Holdren. I have the transcription from inside the Situation Room. I know exactly to a T, Alpha. I can't forward it. It's against the law. But I know that it's real. And John Holdren, look him up. He's the head of the Obama Science and Technology team. I run into the number 2 guy at the Metropolitan in New York City. He physically touched the painting. These guys, look him up. He's written book after book on eugenics. He studied eugenics. Clear back in 1980. And by the way, the dude's the ugliest creep you ever seen. He's about 70 years old. I told him right to his face, if you're so eugenics, why don't you kill yourself? You know, he has kids. I mean, it's disgusting that he's a eugenicist. And that's the guy running the freaking science and technology team. He was appointed long before Fukushima, and he was handed the keys to Fukushima. So there you go. They're a bunch of eugenicists.
Well, you know, the issue is really...
And they're using Fukushima as a fucking mass murder. And what a way to murder people. Through cancer? I mean, they're breaking the country. They're financially destroying the country because cancer treatment is so big. I met a young woman, believe it or not. I mean, a 22-year-old little blonde girl, beautiful thing, in Czechoslovakia. I don't know how we even connected. I just started talking. And, you know, she's like, what are you doing here in Prague, blah, blah, blah. And I was explaining to her I'm anti-nuclear, and I got cancer several years ago, and I fought it, and I come out. And she's real calm, like, she says, me too. I said, what? She spoke broken English, and I'm like, me too. Yeah, she says, I got AML in the fall of 2011. She says, just like a truck smacked me. And then she pulls her little shirt to the side. There's her Fukushima fish hook. I'm like, oh, my God, no. She says, I was 18. Hit me like a truck. AML. Young girls don't survive AML. And I'm like, oh, my God, how did you survive? And she says, my mom. My mom every day told me, girl, you're not just going to let this thing. This isn't going to take you. And my mom made me fight. And she said, she taught me to fight. And I got really angry, and I fought really intensely. And, I mean, it's amazing.
Well, that's really what it's about, isn't it? People have to connect with their desire to live instead of just accepting death. This is what I mean, these people are like, it's kind of ironic because the child predator scandal is breaking in Britain a lot right now. And it's kind of interesting that the curtain is being pulled out, and we're seeing that Oz is just a fucking filthy old man because really, the nuclear cartel has pruned the American public to be exactly like a battered child and just accept the abuse. And you know what? You and I are fighting against it, and that's why we're being looked at as if we're talking about something taboo. That's the weird part. Talking about nuclear.
Okay, Lonnie, you're over here in Europe. Everybody smokes over here still. You'll see 9-month-old pregnant girls smoking cigarettes. You ought to see the food their food's so good, and you know, and it's so quality that they're not fat. There's nobody fat. You would not believe it's taboo. There's no fat people. I mean, once in a while you'll see a big fat, you know, but very rarely, because then they'll start talking about to you. Why is America so? And then they'll say it. They all know. Well, America's so fat because they're so stressed. It has nothing to do with food or their diet. They're stressed out wrecks. So they internalize the grief. They don't know how to externalize the grief like I do. They don't know how to get it out. They don't know how to express themselves. They don't know how to live. They don't know how to, because they're all stressed out, so they internalize the grief. Thus all the tattoos all over the body. thus the abusing food, thus the stress, and thus the obesity. And the nuclear cartel preys on it. They prey on it. There's no resistance because we're taught not to. You ought to hear people over here. Oh, you Americans are taught not to raise your voice. You raise your voice, they taser you and shoot you. What's the matter with you people? These people are animated here. Now, they're kind of quiet in Denmark, whatever. They're very logical here. But in Austria, they're very animated. In Czech, they're animated, and they live. They truly live. And they'll tell you. What about? They'll tell you right to your face. What are you Americans always worried about the next life? We have one. Why don't you try living the one you got?
Right, exactly.
That's what they'll say.
Exactly. What about the one
that's
that
our
we have
problem.
now?
We forgot how to live. We're not living our lives anymore. We're stressed out wrecks. We're all competing with each other, working too long, and we're stressed out. People need to just pull back, get rid of their junk,
Well,
and
and then
live a
on
life.
top of that, we're being primed to be really, the American public really, this is like why I'm very picky about words. Like, people in this country are really primed to call each other names. What do you think they're using that Confederate flag issue over? Really, it's kind of,
What a bunch of crockish shit that is.
Really,
you got the gun lobby gone crazy.
Yeah.
The maniac gun lobby's gone so nuts. You've got mentally ill people with guns committing atrocities, and they're going to blame it on flag.
30,000 people plus get killed in this country every year from weapons. Our cops are completely out of control. So something is wrong in Denmark here. You know what I mean? Like, it's not right. Something is not right in this country. It is really, the sad part is...
Well, I'm in Denmark, and there's nothing rotten here right now. That's funny, because I'm in the Copenhagen train depot right now.
Denmark's a great place. Nothing's rotten in Denmark.
Well, the thing is about here in Denmark is the people are down to earth and logical, and they'll tell you. They've been pummeled and freaking pillaged and are fucking beat up so many fucking times. It's like when I was in Hungary. They're talking about the revolution. I'm like, which one? And they're like, yeah, we have one every 3 years. So east versus west, but people, and the one thing I cannot emphasize more about Europe, we as Americans, we think we hear, Denmark's going to go all cash and the euro. You get over here, it blow your mind because you think it's like, people don't want no fucking part of these globalists. And they're like, in Austria, they use euros, but people bitch about it. In the Czech Republic, nobody will take a euro. In Hungary, forget it. You try using the euro, they'll kick your ass. You think in Denmark you could use euros? Oh, hell no. Sweden, hell no. They want no part of it. No part. They want to keep their cultures. They want to keep their individuality, and they're sick of it. They're sick of the whole globalization. And the American companies have really. There's McDonald's everywhere here, and Starbucks.
Kevin, maybe that's why the globalists have decided they need to kill us all, because we're not going to take it. They know that the human spirit will not take domination. Like, we're just not going to put up with this bullshit. Like, honestly, from the day I really
you can feel it breathing.
From the very day I understood that Fukushima was out of control, I guarantee you it's been the biggest, most primary thing on my mind. Like, how do we get people to make this? They need to fucking plug those goddamn holes, and I don't know how they can do it, but it's so worse than it was 3 years ago when I first met you. I thought it was bad then.
Look, it's like over here in Europe, what Greenpeace has turned into in the United States is Amnesty International here, and UNICEF. So they have the young idealistic idiots out here from all over the world standing there trying to get people to sign up. And I talk to them all the time, and you can tell they're just doing it for money, just like Greenpeace does in the U.S. By the way, Greenpeace in Austria is awesome. The Greenpeace over here is very different than the Greenpeace in the U.S. They're great. And so that's the thing. These fucking organizations are corrupt. And so nobody knows what to do. They want to help. These Europeans, they want to help. You talk to people, and they're like, we want to get involved, Kevin. What can I possibly do? How can I help? The guy that I'm staying with, I was ready to bolt out of the country. I was so discouraged. One woman showed up, and took me to dinner, and we talked about, I was so discouraged staying in the hostels. It was so hardcore. I wasn't getting any sleep, and I'm like, I got to get the fuck out of here. And one guy just, he emailed me. He says, hey, I'm right here. Have you stay at my house? And he come and got me, and I'm staying at him. He's great. And like he says, we want to help. But we know all these organizations are corrupt. They know the anti-nuclear movement's corrupt. They know all of it. And they're on to them. They're fucking on to them, and they want to help. And that's why they love me here so much. All over here is because they're like, this guy's the real deal. He's grassroots.
Kevin, I went to go, I went to that presentation with Chuck Johnson for Oregon Physicians for Social Responsibility. He was the guy who told me about a year and a half ago that there was no problem from Fukushima. There was just, the ocean is just too big. Now, this is a doctor, right? So when I went to go see him last week, before the presentation, he actually gave a great presentation about the urgency of closing the Columbia Generating Station. Get this, what their geological study discovered, the Oregon Physician for Social Responsibility hired a geologist to figure out if there was an earthquake fault underneath there, because we've heard about it. It turns out that the licensee knew there was an earthquake fault and omitted it from their application when they applied to build that fucker 15 or 30 years ago. They knew.
More corruption.
They knew there was an earthquake fault. So
by the way, Chuck Johnson's the guy that fucking went out and turned out the lights on Mimi German and them, and I told him off. I told that fucker, you fuck with her again, and you try to intimidate her and what's her name, the older woman again, you're going to deal with me.
He somewhat conceded beforehand. I'm like, so are you going to tell me that Fukushima, we've now got dead whales, dead seals, no starfish, no anchovies, no sardines, no salmon. You're going to tell me that Fukushima is not harming the Pacific Ocean? He's like, well, there's been no real I said, that's exactly the point, Chuck. There's no studies. But look, you could have told me that maybe 3 years ago. But now we've got almost 5 years in, and it's not 100,000 tons. It's at least 300,000 tons of radioactive waste nonstop for 5 years. You're going to tell me that does not affect the Pacific Ocean? That's not killing the krill?
Well, my doctor, I probably have the most famous oncologist in the world, my doctor. He's from Copenhagen. His name's Kenbo Peterson. Talk to him. Oh, he's so anti-this, so that's why I love him. I mean, this guy's experienced, knowledgeable. He's probably regarded as the #1 leukemia oncologist in the world. Oh, you ought to hear him. Talk to him about leukemia. Talk to him about it. He goes ballistic about it. He knows. So these guys like Chuck that are out there chirping, and it's bullshit.
What other industry could we have in this country where we read these fucking reports from the NRC, Kevin? Every day they report missing radioactive material that is being found in scrapyards. We find them down. A guy died on site from a medical emergency. They said, no, he wasn't contaminated. But what about the contamination of working at the nuclear site? Like, you have a heart attack. I mean, we know this shit causes us harm. What other industry in America? You know what it is? It's the entire energy industry. All of those fuckers, the oil, gas, coal, nuclear.
Well, you know why? We in America have accepted cancer. It's that simple. We've accepted cancer. We've accepted death. That's it. And so they're like, oh, just more cancer. Oh, more radiation. Oh, well, we're going to get cancer. Oh, well.
You know what? It's even
they can just radiate itself. Oh, well, fuck it.
My niece from back east, the one that lives in Baltimore, 2 of her brothers, she has a stepbrother, 2 of his children have autism. You're going to tell me that's not caused by nuclear radiation? Yeah. It is.
Well, we know it's nuclear. I mean, I'm autistic. That was my PhD. My PhD was proven autism from nuclear fallout. We're the capital of the world in Utah of autism for one reason, radiation. I proved it in my PhD. It's undebatable science that autism is nuclear fallout. It's undebatable. Now, I got to tell you this story. This morning, I met this young woman having coffee, and Denmark's famous for their nurses. Danish philosophy of medicine, nurses have just as much power as doctors. Really, nurses, and they're famous for them. Anyway, so we started talking leukemia. She says, I've been working in a children's leukemia unit doing my residency because they're like doctors. And I told her about my leukemia, and she got so emotional. And she says, you had AML? And I said, yeah. She says, I know. Hardly anyone survives that disease. Especially you. And I said, yeah. And I survived. And it was a Danish shot. And she was so emotional, and she was so, and she's like, this disease is the most brutal disease in the world. And I said, you know what causes it? She's absolutely know what causes it. She says, they pound it in these things. Nuclear fallout, radiation. I said, yep. So they know. The medical industry here, they know what causes leukemia. They know what causes autism. They fucking know. It's the U.S. And the U.S. has passed all these crazy, insane laws because of these crazy congressmen that have been bought off lock, stock, and barrel by lobbyists that they can't talk. You know, oncologist, against the law for an oncologist to go in public and talk about individual or in the aggregate cancer victims' cases and to talk about data and numbers. It's illegal for them to do it.
You're
They could
kidding.
lose their license to practice. No, it's against the law. They passed this law about 20 years ago. It's called IPA or something like that. It's an act passed by Congress through the insurance industry that bans doctors, oncologists, from talking about radiation or talking about the cancer rates and why and the causation. It's against, my doctor wants to talk about it. He talks about it all the time. It's against the law for him. That's why they don't. There's plenty. I have the oncologists in Utah, the ones that work with me, they're fantastic. They're amazing. They know. When you go into an oncology unit in the United States with leukemia, you fill out a packet about 30 pages deep, but it's all radiation exposure, radiation. That's all they want to know. And they want to talk. They can't because they'll lose their license. That's how insane the United States is. And our pussy-ass politicians. We got a bunch of pushy politicians that these fucking rats buy them, and they stay bought.
Wow.
You know, we got no men of integrity. We got no women with integrity. You know, it's like the old saying J.P. Morgan said about Teddy Roosevelt. We bought the son of a bitch, and the son of a bitch wouldn't stay bought. These politicians we got, they might as well walk around and fucking say whore for sale to the nuclear industry. All of them, to the gas industry, to whoever. They're all for sale. And that's what people I explain to them here in Europe. They're like, what, are you people crazy? And the Bush and Clinton, I said, we have no speaking power. They're all bought. The political process is corrupt. It's so corrupt we have no shot. You know, and they understand that. They understand that we're fucked over there. They know plenty about fucking our political, but the America's so fucking corrupt. You know, we got no chance politically. You know, we call individual senators, and there's a few of them. You know, I really like Barbara Boxer. She tried. She went after the NRC. I used to talk to her all the time, talk to her office all the time, and she really did try. But, you know, she's the only one, and they fucking forced her out of office.
Well, you know what it's going to be, Kevin?
Fuckers.
It's exactly like what they said in Germany after the war. We didn't know. Yes, they fucking did know, and they kept their fucking traps shut. And this is exactly that's why
the United
Germany
States hit them. The United States hit them in Detroit. The United States protected them. You know, the United States has a long history of protecting fucking mass murdering criminals. Look at the guy from Bhopal, fucking Anderson. He just died this fall. You know, they convicted him in the world court. They convicted him in India of fucking murder. The United States hit him out, and they fucking protected him in Manhattan.
Well, this is the outrage of it. They act as if we ignore the radiation, we're going to somehow miraculously come around to hormesis where it won't harm us, and it'll be okay, and don't worry about it. We'll just miraculously figure out a way to save the planet and save... I mean, it is just complete insanity, and frankly... You know, our country was filled with a bunch of the Nazi scientists, right? The Operation Paperclip, and they've basically started experimenting on they started we became their human lab rats right after World War II, and now it's a worldwide lab rat since Fukushima because the world is in a catastrophic state. And
look at the USS Reagan. Look at my dad. I mean, they were human lab rats. They're still doing it. That's all we are. That's all we are, these fucking monsters. And we refuse to stand up. We refuse. I stood up. I stand up every day. It's like I'm over in Sweden yesterday. You know, and Sweden has 8 nuclear reactors. And by the way, people don't realize Sweden's a police state. I mean, it's very different. You say it's very beautiful over there. The most clean place you ever used to see their subway. It's incredible. But they have 8 nuclear reactors. And so I was talking to activists over there. He said, you can't say shit. They'll come around. And they're like, well, we don't have earthquakes. We don't have this, that, and other thing. I said, okay, asshole, what about your nuclear? What about where you getting uranium from? So it's okay, you have the reactor. What about your uranium mines? You're taking it from Australia. You're taking it from Utah. And then what about your fucking waste you spread all over the world?
Right.
So that's the arrogance. You know, certain countries will say, oh, well, you know, you Americans, you have earthquakes. You have hurricanes. You have that in Japan, but we don't. And then I tell them, well, how about Chernobyl, fucker? Was that natural causes? Hell no. That was man error or man-made. I mean, I think it was probably Keller's last stand that he blew it.
Well, it is.
By the way, I got to go to the coolest fucking place you ever seen in Hungary. You wouldn't believe that place. I met this Hungarian girl, and she toured me around, and I got to go out to what they call Memorial Park. It's the strangest place I've ever been to in my world. in my life. And you got to take the bus out there, and it's in a residential. And the countryside of Hungary and Czech is spectacular in Austria. It's so beautiful. Anyway, you get out there, and there's all the giant old Soviet, regime statues, all of them. Fucking weirdest place, coolest thing I ever fucking seen. But the giant statues of Lenin, the old Cold War. So there, right in Hungary, I go to a beer fest there. There's the old Soviet marker, and right in front of the Soviet marker, called Liberty Park, is a statue of Reagan. So the East versus West war is still going right there to that square inch. To this day, it's still being fought. Right there.
Wow.
So it's pretty amazing. And they got nuclear reactors falling apart all over Hungary, and they don't give a fuck. They're like, yeah, fuck it. They're a disaster. Same in the Czech. They're a disaster.
Well,
no one
what,
gives a
Kevin,
fuck of the
people are
Austrians.
just willing to accept death. That's the thing. We're the culture of death. That is really,
Yes.
ours is the entire planet right now. Very few people really, and really, this is such an outrage. They're going after Africa now. They're really planning on nuclearizing Africa big time. And what are they going to do? They're just fucking going to destroy every piece of land, every ocean, every single thing on our fucking planet for the nuclear cartel. Where do they think they're going to fucking live? Where are they going to live?
It's greedy.
What do they think they're going to do in 100 years from now? They have discovered something that can literally destroy the planet.
They don't care. No, it's about greed. They don't give a fuck. It's about greed and their fucking money. They're all greedy shit fuckers. They don't even think about it. They don't care. It's fucking greed. It's about wealth, it's about money, and it's about power. Once you have a nuclear reactor set up somewhere, you control that place. You got total control over any piece of geographical area, whether it be a country, whether it be a continent. You got nuclear reactors, you can threaten them every fucking day. What's going on in Ukraine? My God, those poor fucking people. I talk to people. I think I'm with a guy who's been sneaking in and out of Ukraine. That's why I'm not going. You see these photographs and the footage that's going on there. Holy, those poor fucking people being fought all because the East fucking Empire versus the West Empire is fighting in the same place they are. And now they're fighting over fucking nuclear waste and plutonium. 1 gram of plutonium is going for $6,000 in the creating exchange.
Say that again. Say that again. Say that again, Kevin. What did you say? About the 6,000?
1 gram of plutonium going on the fucking world market right now for $6,000. So these fuckers, they know they got gods of it there. That's what they're fighting over. They've got gold, they got silver, they got uranium mines, and then Bill fucking Clinton takes a bribe to the president of Kazakhstan. All the antelope dropped dead, and nobody. That should be a mega huge story that all the antelope dropped dead there. And it's all the Australians. So I met these guys from Australia that work in Perth in the fucking uranium mines, and then they're flying and going on these 4-week fucking work stints in Kazakhstan. I said, dumb fuckers, making all this money. I said, dumb fuckers, you know about the antelope dropping dead? What? Well, I wasn't reported. I said, what do you do? Watch CNN? And so I showed them. They're like, oh my God. I said, yeah, oh my God, and you're in there? You fucking uranium rats? Fuck for money? Fuck. People don't know. They're ignorant. These people are being played like a fiddle. And it's just all these same old players, the Putin's royal fucking oligarchs, Jewish, Russian, wealth, the same thing that led up to World War I, World War II, with fighting against the Queen. They're the same inbred family, but it's like a bunch of little kids fighting over, just getting a map out. Oh, there's the last place left with vast natural resources, uranium, gold, silver, but now it's plutonium. And so, there's so much wealth because these other countries, they want, we want to be like the U.S. We need the bomb. I'm India. If we get the bomb, we'll be just like the U.S.
Yeah, but the difference now is, Kevin, this is what they're missing out on, the big picture. Nuclear contamination is nothing like the contamination from regular bombs. People try to tell me that coal is worse. No, because coal does not destroy your DNA. It does not destroy your future. Yes, it causes cancer and it causes...
What's on Fukushima, Japan, is nuclear fission. It's never happened before. It's the most powerful
Exactly.
waste in the history of humanity by
That's
putting
exactly right.
It's nuclear fission. It's gamma rays from hell. And then
We have
everybody's like, oh,
never,
what's the
we
Pacific
have
Ocean dying?
never ever seen. They can't even fucking make a robot to go in there after almost 5 years. They
You're
still.
talking. The biggest event in human history happened 3/11/11. People can't wrap their mind. It's that big. It is that big and it's that catastrophic. And the energy going, I mean, it's amazing to me. The energy pours into the Pacific Ocean. I've been saying since day one it's going to kill the Pacific Ocean. The Pacific Ocean dies right in their face. And like I said, I'm standing right by Hans Christian Andersen's statue right now. The Emperor has no fucking clothes. And I tell everybody, have you read that story? Do you even know what the Emperor has no clothes?
Right.
I mean, that's what this is. The Emperor has no fucking clothes.
That's exactly.
They're rotten in Denmark. Oh boy, rotten in fucking Denmark. And so here it is. This is obvious. The nose on your face. The event happens. It comes into the ocean. It creates a bubble, which I've named plutonium, over the fucking western United States, pushes the heat source up, pushes the jet stream over, creates the drought, creates the death of the city. It's all of it. All of it's one thing. Fukushima, which I've named plutonium, which we don't even know what this energy is.
Yeah, we don't even.
It all goes perfectly in symphony with 3/11/11. It's no coincidence. None of it's a coincidence.
And you know the worst part is that they're not really.
It's obvious as the nose on your face.
They're not telling if they do know how catastrophic it is. They're not warning anybody. But I have a sneaky feeling that they're just ignoring it. Like I don't believe that they're actually figuring it out and trying.
Well, I know for a fact that the Navy has the data because I've been told behind closed doors clear back in the summer of 2013 when I was at the Reagan hearing 2 years ago, and I was the only one there. And I did interviews with the Navy, with Marines, and they patted me down, and I was there. I was all by myself. Nobody else was there. And I was told to my face, wouldn't let me record, whatever. Kevin, we have the data. Well, by the intel, by the Marines, the woman for the intel and the Marines told me point blank, Kevin, we have all the data. I mean,
well, you know what,
Kevin? We have the ships that are gathering.
That is actually the power.
And how bad is it? She says, it's bad.
You know what? This is why it's important, and I'm really glad that I got behind you with the Post Ignorance Project and help to start sending you around the country. Because if you had not gone, nobody would have been there, and nobody would have been able to find out some of the real truth. And that's the
what we've done, you and I, what we've done together. It was your idea. And you know what we've accomplished in the last 3-4 years?
Yeah.
Oh my God! Look at the places I've been and the things I've done, and I've recorded it in history. And it's right there to be recorded, and no one else did it. I mean, I think about where I've been and where I've had to sleep, and how hard it's been, and what chump change that we've done it on. It's staggering. It's staggering.
You're telling me
the body of work that's been accomplished.
I mean, really, for me to be funding you on basically a prayer, really, literally on my credit cards. It's like I'm not rich. I've been putting it on my credit cards, and I'm staying above water. But you know what? I made a commitment because this is the most important thing that has ever happened in the history of humanity. And if we don't start doing it, nobody's going to do it. So it's up to us. And this is the message of the Post Ignorance Project. It's up to us. And once you know about it, you are post-ignorant, and you have a moral obligation to do everything you can to stop the nuclear cartel from producing one more spent fuel rod. That's my feeling. We need to shut these motherfuckers down and force them to start studying the science on how to mitigate the harm and just shut this fucking shit down and save our planet. And we're really on the edge of self-destruction. We are in the 6th extinction level event that's ever happened. Mammals are dropping off the cliff and dying faster than even the last extinction. Animals did not die as fast as they are now. We are killing the planet faster at this time than any other time in the history of the planet.
And humans in North America, life expectancy for the first time in the history of the United States isn't increasing, it's decreasing. As of 2012, it's going the other way. We have a major cancer epidemic because of nuclear waste in the U.S. and Fukushima piled on. It's on. I mean, it is on.
So, Kevin, I think we have about 15 seconds
so
left.
fast.
I think we have about 15 seconds left. We might have a minute. I'm not sure how this thing cuts off, but so if then you want to say anything, you might want to say your parting words.
Yeah, well, I'm traveling around Europe and I'm doing everything I can. And people need to contact. They want to find me. Get me on Facebook. You send me a message on Facebook. And I'm traveling all over and I'm doing everything I can.
PostIgnoranceProject.com. So please contribute.
Yeah. All right. Well, everybody hang in there. We'll keep fighting.
Keep yourself safe, Kevin, and stay out of the rain, okay?
Yeah, it's raining hard today.
I know. Put a hat
I
on.
will.
Ciao, brother.
All right. Okay. Thanks, Lonnie.
Take care. Talk to you soon.
All nuclear fighters, all hands on deck, all hands on deck, all hands on deck. All nuclear fighters, all hands on deck, all hands on deck, all hands on deck. They'll be calling you a radical. Plumegate, 311, whatever you want to call it. I call it